3, 2, 1. Work out what is happening with the new technology. In fact, we've got some bugs already with our green screen a little bit larger than it needs to be. Let's zoom that in. That's better. So welcome everybody to Copiosis. I'm Perry Gruber, the founder, and I have with me, I'm just doing a little bit of adjustment here, with me my co-host Jill Dell. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And then for those of you who are watching the show, maybe for the first time on the live stream, we're live streaming every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We start a little bit late. We'll get better at that as we improve the technology. But if you're interested in making sure you do not miss these shows, you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you click that bell so that you are notified when our shows are going live. Because these are live shows, actually, you know what, Jill? I think we can schedule these on YouTube, so we'll just schedule them in the future so that people
Okay.
can get them on their calendars. Um,
All right.
and then, if you haven't uh, learned very much about copiosis, you can do so by going to these URLs. Copiosis.com will take you straight to the website where you can learn all kinds of great things about copiosis, how it works, why we're doing it, and how we're making it happen. And then you can go to our Patreon URL if you wish to become someone who funds what we're doing with Copiosis. And so um, this show is about answering sticky questions and having conversations around some of the sticky questions that we get asked via the website, through Facebook, through the contact pages on our website, and of course on YouTube. And Jill has been graceful enough to come on to the show to be a co host with me. And I wanted her to be on the show because she has a unique perspective from which she asks really good questions. And it's really exciting to see her actually answer her own questions after we get on a roll. So it's very nice to have you here, Jill. Um, Especially in the era that we're in right now with the elections just finishing up here in the United States. And I know you have a message you want to
Oh
convey
boy.
maybe at the end of the show. Um, but
Yeah.
let's but let's kick off with. By the way, audience, if I'm looking down, I am actually producing the show while we talk, and so there are things like the overlays that I turn on and off for your viewing pleasure, so that you can get information that you can get before or in addition to when Jill are talking. So I'll be looking down from time to time to handle the software that's producing our show, just so you know. All right, so Jill, last week we ended. You're a little bit off camera. Let me fix that. See if I can fix that. Let's see here.
Hmm.
There we go. Got it. So last time, the last show, the pre-recorded show, we had a question that you had asked right at the end of the show, and we promised the viewers we would get back to that show. So let me um, cue that segment up and see if anyone see just to like get that part of the show started. And we'll start with that question first. And so I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear this. I don't know if you will or not, but I'm going to
All
play it
right.
for the audience anyway. You know what the question is, right? You remember what it
I
is.
remember the question.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's see if you'll be able to hear this while it's playing. Here we go.
So right now, the way it is, if I need money,
Uh,
uh, my home is a big source of, you know, uh, funds that I might
Correct.
utilize. Okay.
Correct.
Um, so in copiosis, you're gonna go ahead and just give me that uh, equity right now. So then going forward, I can decide if I already have the equity, so I don't have to go loan it from anybody. It's already in my pocket,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So uh, going forward into the future, I would anticipate that the value of this home in the current system would increase over the years. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
which as long as it's maintained and yada yada,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how does copiosis address that sort of increase in value on properties? Is it just sort of left where it is until you actually sell it?
The appreciation value, the future appreciation value of property after the transition. So at the transition, of course, what we do is, I'm doing a little bit more camera adjustment. After the transition, what we do is, I should say, at the transition, we compensate everybody for the value of all their property, including their land. So whatever equity exists in the land at that moment, everyone who
Yeah.
owns land gets equivalent, dollar for dollar equivalent of MBR.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then your question was, well, what happens after that? Because land in this world, in our current reality, land continues to appreciate.
Yeah.
And the way you did you hear what you said? Did you hear the snippet?
Yeah. I didn't hear it, but yeah,
Okay.
I know what the conversation was.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So you were
yeah.
saying in the question, well, as that value appreciates, I might need that value in the future. And
Right.
so in copiosis, the answer to the question, what happens to the value of that land as it increases, is in copiosis, the value of the land does not increase. The
Right.
value that the value that capitalism places on the land that generates appreciation is unnecessary, because ultimately this is going to get into a kind of a philosophical conversation between you and me, and
Sure.
maybe you'll agree with this.
Okay.
Ultimately, nobody really owns the earth. Nobody really owns the
Yeah.
land, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
just a system we've put in place to blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
protect our
exactly.
little puzzle.
That's right. That's right,
Right.
Jill. Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, and then also the way you couched the question was brilliant, because you were saying I may need the value in the future to take a loan or something like that. And in copiosis, you don't need that. You don't need that access to that kind of wealth, because
Right.
you all, for one thing, you don't need to take out a loan for anything, because there's nothing to buy
Right.
on
Well,
credit
there's no
terms.
loans to take out.
That's exactly
Right.
right, Jill. That's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you need something that you currently can't afford, actually, there's nothing that you might need that you can't afford, because everything that you need is given to you. But if there's something that you want that you don't have enough MBR for, like let's say you want a G5 or something, like G5 is a private jet, and you don't have enough MBR, I know, you don't have enough MBR to unlock the gateway to be able to
Yeah.
enjoy a G5,
Yeah.
then you probably will have to produce a lot of MBR, or a lot of NBV, a lot of net benefit over time, in order to unlock that gateway. But in the meantime, you could it's kind of, in today's world it would be called renting, but in copiosis you could hire a G5 to fly wherever you want, using
Right.
and for the period of time that you're going to be flying from here to there. I mean, most, just like
Or
cars.
I might find other people that would join with me to open the gateway so that we could cooperatively do that. Right.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct. I mean, ultimately, when we're talking about these kind of things that people quote unquote can't afford, most of the time when those things are purchased, they're not using them very much. So like
Right.
when someone gets a yacht, most of the time it's just like with a car. Most of the time the yacht's not being used by the owner,
Right.
which is why in capitalism yacht owners often, what do they call it? They call it what do they call it? That's not called renting with a yacht. It's called chartering. They charter.
Chartering.
Yeah,
Yes. Charter.
they
Charter
charter
their
their
boat.
yachts.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
so that they can turn the
Yeah.
boat into an income generator. So
Okay.
in copiosis, it's unlikely everyone's going to want a G5, because all the G5s are
Sure.
mostly going to be sitting around.
Yeah.
What you really want is the pleasurable experience of flying private,
Yeah. Right.
you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
having your own
Yeah.
plane, eating really nice
Right.
meals while you're flying, having sexy or
Right.
handsome steward people assisting you, not having to deal with,
Whatever.
yeah.
I don't even know what that world is. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah,
yeah.
right.
Not having to
It's
worry
they
about.
it's an experience. They want to
They want the
experience
experience.
something.
That's right.
They want an experience,
Yes.
right?
Or they want
Yeah,
to avoid an experience like no crying babies, no large people they have to sit next to, no waiting in
right.
lines, no
Yeah,
TSA, all of those kind of
yeah,
things, right?
right. All that stuff,
So
right?
you can get that experience without having to own the G5 because often, actually all the time, if you own the G5, then not only do you have to deal with not using it all the time, but you have to deal with the costs of a G5,
Yeah,
including the crew and maintenance and fuel and all those kind of things. So in Copiosis, what you're really after is the experience, like you said, not ownership. So, do you need the future value of land in order to take out loans or to buy things? No. Is there future value of land in Copiosis? No, there isn't. So once the universe, once civilization compensates landowners for the value of the land, that's it. The only thing left from there going forward is stewardship of the land. And the NBR streams that come from stewarding a piece of property is
right.
equivalent to how much or what you do with the property. So let,
Exactly.
so let's say like with your duplex, for example, you're renting out half of the duplex. In Copiosis, you would get MBR as someone occupies the other side of your duplex. If you owned a ranch, a cattle ranch, or even just some acreage out in Colorado somewhere, and you
Right.
maintained it in its natural state, you would get MBR for maintaining it in its natural state because natural acreage benefits society by providing room for wildlife to propagate and providing room for trees to diversify and live and clean the air
Right.
and sequester carbon and all those things that empty land does. But then, as
Yeah.
the owner of the land, because you're the steward, you can also do other things on it, which most ranchers do. Most ranchers lease out their land to people who do
Right.
things like conservation or energy production or other things.
Ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same thing would
So
happen in Copiosis.
so what I was thinking is that the way that I could make my property more valuable to um, the earth and society is possibly doing some sort of conversion to a more energy efficient, just a really a better structure that um is more in line with, you know, taking care of the earth, I guess. So I could find ways to maybe put solar on my house or, um, put all new insulation in the house, whatever would bring it up to a smarter, greener home uh, that would have a greater benefit than what it has right now.
That's
So
that's right.
uh, that's going to increase value, and value in copiosis is, uh, you know, providing better solutions, providing a better quality of life, providing a better like earth.
That's right. That
Yeah,
that's that is the
right.
that is the number one
So
benefit.
that's the since our last talk, that's the um, answer I came up with is that uh, values have changed in copiosis. It's not about
Oh,
you know,
right.
right?
Compared to today's world, that's
Ex-
correct. Yes,
exactly.
value has
Yes.
changed. And the cool
Value
thing
has changed.
let me just fix my there's a lot of strange light coming in there. The cool thing about the things that you said that you would want to do with your with your house is
Hmm.
a lot of those things that you would want to do, people would proactively come to you and offer to do those things for you
Exactly.
at no cost to
Exactly.
you, right? Because
Right.
if it's go ahead, no, please
Because
go
they're
ahead.
getting NBR to do that,
That's exactly
right?
right. That's exactly right.
Because they're supporting solutions. They're supporting a better way of doing things. and they want others to do that. So, and they're getting NBR for providing those things,
That's exactly right.
at no cost to me, because
Yes.
they know that if I do this to my property, it's going to improve the quality of life for people who are living here, and it's going to improve the quality of the earth,
Yes.
right?
And as a result of that, what are they going to get?
NBR.
And
they're going
so
to get
yes,
they're going to get a better earth. They're going to get a better quality of life too,
that's right.
right?
And so are
Yeah.
you. And so you're going to get MBR too. So if a solar panel manufacturer comes to your house and wants to put solar panels on your house and you agree to let them do that, they're going to get
Yes.
MBR for the benefit of their
Yeah.
solar electricity. But you're going to get MBR too because it's your house.
Yeah.
And your
Right.
house, if your
So
house
it's
wasn't,
win. It's a win-win.
it's a win-win. Now, it's funny because some
Win-win.
people say that because of this, it seems like Copiosis is kind of like a network marketing scheme. Because let's say someone puts solar panels on your house, so now that person who put the solar panels on your house gets MBR, but you get MBR too because it's your house. And so,
Yeah.
and the people who developed the solar panels, the people who provided the raw materials to create the solar panels that are being put on your house as a result of the solar panel company installation, the people who provided the raw materials, when the panels get put on your house, they get more MBR too, all the way up the supply chain. Everyone
The
gets
food
more MBR. Yeah, the food chain. Everyone gets more
chain.
MBR. So some people think, well, that seems awfully like a pyramid scheme because everybody's benefiting from everybody's activities. But the plain fact of the matter is that's how life works. When when you
Yeah.
help somebody, you help everybody. And so
Yeah.
the strange thing, and it's not strange because we've lived with it for so long, but the strange thing about capitalism is the only those upstream benefits only show up as one-time payments. So like
Yeah.
when the solar company buys its raw materials from their supplier for that
Right.
one, yeah, for that
They
one
paid
set,
for it.
that's right. And so it's
Yeah.
done. No more benefit to
So
the
it's done.
supplier.
No more benefits. Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the raw material that was turned into solar energy panels keeps generating more and more and more and more and more electricity, and the supplier gets none of that value,
Yeah.
none of the credit for
Yeah.
that value. In Copiosis,
Right.
they keep on getting credit, and so does everyone else who touched that raw material. So when the raw material is created and shipped from the raw material producer to the solar panel manufacturer's warehouse or manufacturing facility, the person who transported that material gets rewarded and continues to
Right.
get rewarded every time a solar panel made of those resources is installed somewhere.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a lot more. Uh, all right. So it's difficult to comprehend, um, the magnitude of the magnitude of it all, right? The magnitude of it all.
Well, this is why.
So
Go ahead.
so I I I think I think we're planning next week to bring our tech guy on board, and so I want to go to that area next week, like the magnitude of data and how we do all that. I guess for me, one of the comments that you made, I believe last week, was that um, each person could decide to convert to copiosis. Is that is
Yeah,
that a true statement?
yeah,
And
everyone,
how would that work?
no one is forced to participate in copiosis. And so if you don't want to participate, the,
Participate, but okay. So
so the, so the idea, our transition idea initially includes
okay,
making room in a nation, it doesn't have to be the United States, but making room in a nation for copiosis to compete alongside whatever that existing economic system is. But in
Oh, I
order
see.
but in order to do that, you need to some pretty robust legislation because people on the copiosis side need to be released from their debt. They need to be able to receive NBR instead of money. Their jobs need to reward them with NBR instead of money for the time that they're in copiosis. All that stuff has to be a one-to-one relationship with the current system, whatever one we're competing against.
Mm-hmm.
And so then people can choose to move in either direction. If they want to try out copiosis, they can move over there and try it. And if they want to move back, they can do that. We believe that once that is created where it's separate but equal, so to speak, then people are going to opt to live in copiosis because the benefits of living in copiosis far exceed the benefits of living in capitalism. In fact, you could
Right.
say everything that exists in capitalism exists in copiosis. It's just that all the bad things that exist in capitalism does not exist in copiosis.
Right.
So in the initial phase, people can choose to move into copiosis or not, and out of it too. But ultimately, at some point, there will be so many people participating in copiosis that capitalism won't be able to sustain itself. And at that point, it won't be. I don't think it's going to be a choice for people. I mean, you could live outside of copiosis, but it would be a pretty strange existence. It'd be kind of like trying to live outside of
Yeah.
the economic system, and some people
Yeah.
do.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking legislation, so when I say, okay, I want to be copiosis, and copiosis is going to give my bank this money, your R NBR for my loan. So the bank isn't converting to copiosis. They don't want to. They see their downfall as that. Um, how do we even move forward?
Well, this is where it gets really, really interesting. I was going to say
Okay.
challenging, but it's really, really interesting because will a bank will a bank see their downfall in that? Who is the bank? Who is the bank? So the bank is the investors,
All the people, the investors,
the
yeah,
staff, the
staff.
leadership like the board, the
Sure.
CEO or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
also the people who have their money in the banks, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
the some of those people are going to move to copiosis whether the bank wants to move or not because they're going to want to try it out once there's a lot of momentum behind people understanding what copiosis is. So that's one thing.
All right.
The second thing is there's a lot of banks in the world. And so some of that leadership are going to look at copiosis and they're going to say they might have something here.
Right.
Some will look at copiosis and do that. Others are going to say, no way, Jose. We think capitalism is the best thing ever. We're sticking with capitalism. But
Right.
by the time we get to the point that we're talking about, there will be other types of financial mechanisms in place, like cryptocurrencies and
Yeah.
other financial instruments that people who want to move into copiosis might be able to move their wealth into those other systems that allows more of a seamless interaction in the copiosis environment. So what I'm saying is that innovations will probably occur that will foster the ability of individuals to move into a copiosis trial project.
Well, I would also suggest that when people are moving into copiosis and they are no longer taking out using new credit, they're no longer using credit to purchase a car or for transportation.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer, using uh, the bank's money to buy a house. Instead, their home has been provided for them in Copiosis. I would hope that banks would see the writing on the wall that they're going to be out of business. Maybe
Yeah,
not tomorrow, maybe not in 5 years,
yeah,
but I would say in 10 years, you're out of business.
yeah. It
So why wouldn't you go, all right,
Well, that's the
all
thing because, and you're right. It seems logical that these
yes.
people who are running these banks, they're not dummies. Sure,
No.
they might be greedy, they might be focused on profit right now, but they
Well, they have
also,
to be focused on profit.
I'm sorry.
They have they have to be focused
Well,
on profit.
exactly, but they
It's a
also,
requirement of it's a function of their business
yes,
is profit.
but they also are smart, and so they're also looking out in the world and seeing the problems that this system is creating. They're not dumb, and so
Yeah.
if Copiosis offers a way out of those problems, and nothing else is offering similar ways out, I think
Mhm.
some of those people will say, hey, it's worth banks going out of business to have a planet where there's no debt, where people are fed and clothed and housed and all these
Right.
good things, and where we have a clean environment. It's worth banks going away for that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're definitely going to have some people that are going to fight this. And this is why this is so serious. It's like, there are some people who have
Yes.
innovations like this and they think, oh, all we have to do is take from the rich, or all we have to do is just force them to
Yeah.
do it, and it's
Yeah.
not going to be that easy.
No.
It's not going to be that easy. So
No.
let's take a
Not gonna
break.
be that easy. All
It's
right.
let's take a break. So it's half past the hour. We usually take a break at 20 minutes past the hour, and then 40 minutes past the
Okay.
hour, and then end. So
All right.
we're a little bit long in the tooth in terms of taking a break. I
Okay.
just want to remind people that you are watching the Copiosis live stream called Devil's Advocate, and
Okay.
we are live every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Western. And if you're interested in finding out more about Copiosis, maybe this is your first time, you can go to copiosis.com and learn more, or go to the Copiosis Facebook social group on Facebook. I said that kind of weird, but the Copiosis Facebook social group. And then if you're interested in becoming a patron, you can go to patreon.com at this website. Oops. We're still learning the technology, so apologize for things popping up strangely like they're doing. You can go to patreon.com and find out more about Copiosis, and if you want to, you can become a patron. There we talk about where all the money goes, and it all goes into great places, all supporting Copiosis. And then if you're interested, please be sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're notified of future shows. And um, we're going to be scheduling these ahead of time so that you will be able to be alerted to any new Devil's Advocate shows that are scheduled in the future. But they're always going to be on Tuesday at 11 in the morning Pacific time.
Yeah.
All right, back to
Okay.
our
We taking
conversation.
a break?
Oh no,
Are
that
we?
was the break. That was the break.
Oh. Oh.
so
Okay.
so so yeah, so this is serious business, and there's going to be some conflict, there's going to be some struggle, they're going to be, I mean, think about today, Jill, where we've got these elections happening in the United States,
Right.
and so
Right.
many people are really pissed off because they've been led to believe that voter fraud has occurred, and all the ballots were not counted, and if they were all counted, then Trump should have won, and people are just,
All right. So I guess okay. So your I'm sorry, but your answer to this, a comment that you made is that we're going to need legislation. Okay, we're going to need legislation.
yeah.
Why?
That's a good question. So people ask this,
Why? Why?
yeah,
Why do we need legislation?
yeah, because
Okay.
because because
Okay.
right
Let
now,
me. Yeah.
r-
Let me just say my thoughts.
okay,
Okay.
sure,
There are hundreds and thousands of people already sharing sharing information, sharing ideas, sharing all kinds of things, okay, freely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and helping their neighbors
Mm-hmm.
and helping others.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, nonprofits is one of the largest growing industries in the country
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are moving in this direction, in my opinion, already.
Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't you just um, begin by giving people NBR for the sharing that they're already doing? And then those people are going to want some way to spend their NBR.
Mm-hmm.
So others are going to start offering products just like people accept Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
Or just like people, just the way that the Visa credit all started and how pervasive it is right now. Why do we need any legislation? There wasn't any legislation happening for Bitcoin. Why do we need legislation?
Well,
You're,
there is legislation being developed for cryptocurrency. It's just that it's behind the curve. Like many innovations, the innovation comes first, and then legislation follows. Um,
yeah,
so there is
well, sometimes.
legislation, yeah. So there is legislation being developed for cryptocurrencies. There
Hmm.
is the reason why we're going to need legislation. There are so many reasons, but let me give you an example. Let's just use your house for example. You have a
Okay.
mortgage, right? Or is it free and clear?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So if yeah, right. So if you decided to move to Copiosis,
Hmm.
we would need some sort of legal framework that allows the following. So let's say you decide you want to move over. And so in order to move over, all of your financial assets, all your money and the physical assets would be released from capitalism and moved into Copiosis. And you would be credited for all of that value in NBR.
Okay.
Now you're in Copiosis and you have all your property with you, including your house and car and all that, and it's all free and clear. There's no loans or
Right.
debt attached to
Yeah.
it. Okay. Over here, back in capitalism, the bank all of a sudden has lost the income stream that was once your mortgage.
Right.
The current legislation would allow the bank to sue you to get the money from you. We would
And
need,
and and take my property.
and take your property, yes. Now let's say you decided for whatever reason that you didn't like Copiosis and you wanted to move back. So all of the MBR that you got for your property and for the finances, the cash that you had would somehow need to turn back into money if you decided to move back. And the bank,
Okay. Okay, back up. Let's go back to that first thing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, what I'm saying is that um, uh, I could be. I don't have to just transition all in one moment to copiosis. I can transition by uh, utilizing the system to provide me with NBR that I can then use to uh, support companies that are also utilizing NBR.
yes,
So, and I don't have to have, I can stay in capitalism. and I don't have to have my mortgage paid off. I've already got my puzzle. So I can stay in capitalism for as long as I need to while Copiosis is being grassrootly developed, while the algorithms and the data is being collected and the system is being tested and all of these things are happening. I don't need to convert in, and I don't need legislation when there is, half the population is already utilizing the Copiosis system. And now we go to the banks and we say, you know what? We're going, you have two choices basically. Your system isn't, you're going out of business because we're encouraging people not to use credit, not to use your loans, not to use your stuff. Now we are in charge, basically. And all we've done, I don't know, maybe this is an idea you haven't thought of. I don't know. But all we've done is said, you, this person over there, you have value to me. Okay. And so, how can we exchange our values? We can use it doing this particular system. And you just start giving people NBR for what they're doing. And then you have others that are producing something that people that have NBR want, so they can, I know it's not an exchange of money. I understand that. But you've already created the system. Right?
So this isn't an either or proposal. Of course, we have talked about this step-by-step process of transition, and that's one of the
Okay.
ways that we're implementing the demonstration projects that we're talking about.
Right.
The and yes, it could potentially evolve. A piecemeal type of transition that you're describing without legislation could evolve in that way. I mean, to a large degree, that's how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has happened. They just kind of did
Right.
it. Right. Right. At some point, though, even if we got to the point in your scenario where you're describing basically most of the citizenry wanting copiosis and wanting to go in that direction,
Yes.
there still has to be some sort of legislation in that nation that allows, for lack of a better word, the case law governing contracts, the contract law governing contracts,
Yeah.
to release the parties involved in those contracts so that the party who perceives themselves to be harmed in this transition isn't harmed or doesn't have recourse to address any harm other than what's written in the legislation. So, for example, we don't want you to lose your house because you've moved to Copiosis, no matter how we do it. And so we need a law that nullifies the law that says that a bank can take your house if you don't make the mortgage payment.
Mm. But if the bank has been compensated,
You would think, well, they're not being compensated in money, though. They're being compensated in MBR.
oh, okay. So isn't basically the legislation more to um, make NBR an equivalent of the dollar
This is why,
in
yes,
capitalism
this is why we need, at some point,
legislation?
we need
Yeah.
legislation. Yes, because right now, legal tender, that's a legal term.
Legal
Legal,
tender
legal,
is, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
legal
Yeah.
term is enforced by law, which is why
Mm-hmm.
you can't create your own U.S. dollars. It's called
Mm-hmm.
counterfeiting, right? And so we can't. We right now, MBR is just MBR. Who gives a shit what it
Right.
is? You know, a bank won't
Right. Yeah.
recognize your MBR. Many banks don't
Right.
even recognize Bitcoin. You have to
Yeah.
turn it into money. And so
Yeah.
so we need at either the route I'm talking about, where we separate copiosis from capitalism and have the two compete, or your way, where it's gradually emerging from capitalism. At some
Right.
point in both of those processes, some legislation is needed. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Jarek, the tech person our CTO who's going to join us next week, he would argue that we don't need legislation.
Right.
But our political strategist, Christopher, who might join us at some point in the future, he would argue, as politics moves downstream, when the power of politics moves downstream towards the level of states and local governments, we're going to need
Which is going to happen.
which is
Mm-hmm.
happening. Yes, we're going to
Yes.
need legislation at the state level even then, because at some point within a state, you're going to need the ability. So let's look at a utility, for example, like PGE, Portland General Electric, which is a utility here in the
Right.
Northwest where we are.
Right.
I was just saying that for the audience who doesn't live in Oregon. So
Okay. Yeah.
PGE serves a wide area that includes more than 3 counties. I want to say they might even be in different states. They might. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
They're pretty big.
yeah, they're pretty big. And
Mm-hmm.
their energy plants, not all of their energy plants are in Oregon. And so we
Right.
need some sort of legislation that allows PGE to remain whole while they provide electricity to any resident in Oregon, if the state decides to go copiosis, to all residents that they're serving with electricity, so that they can serve those people without those people having to pay money to get that electricity, because housing is provided at no cost.
Right.
Now, if the CEO and the board of PGE agreed to go along with copiosis, then it would be easier. We wouldn't need legislation. But
Right.
the problem is PGE is not a private company; it's a public company, and so there are investors probably all over the world that are invested in PGE, and those investors have the legal authority to sue and remove the CEO and the board if they run
Right.
afoul of how the company should legally be run. So,
Well, I would argue that there's if those people, that the investors uh, don't have anybody that will work for them,
I know that's
right?
the tipping point,
They
right?
say, yeah, you can bitch and moan and cry all you want. You can fire all of them, but we're not going to work for you. We're not working for you anymore.
Yeah.
We're working for the world. We're working
Yeah.
for our fellow men. We're
Yeah.
working for ourselves, our family, and we're going to benefit from our efforts. We're not going to benefit you from our efforts anymore. We are going to benefit, you know, our families and the rest of society from our efforts, and
Exactly.
be compensated uh, as we should be,
For everything
instead
that
of
we do.
how you think we should be compensated.
That's right. We should be compensated for
Right.
everything we do that creates benefit, not just the things that you say create benefit. Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly
Exactly.
right. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
You decide what's valuable to us. You're not
Yes.
going to decide that anymore.
Oh.
So, go ahead, fire our board of directors. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. See if you're making a dime when we all walk off the job and your airlines start falling down. See how that works for you. Now, maybe they can find other people to hire up or whatever, but they won't have the skills, they won't have the experience, they won't have the, they'll have to figure out how it all works, right?
Well,
So,
it's at some point that we could get to that point. I think there's a long road ahead before that happens. But let's take a quick break and just say to the audience that you're watching the Copiosis live stream called Devil's Advocate. This is Perry Gruber and Jill Dell. We talk about some of the sticky issues, and boy, have we talked about a sticky issue today,
yeah,
about how we transition to copiosis and the real serious business that this transition process is, and the impacts it can have on
it,
society,
it's huge.
both the positive and the negative. And just want to remind people who are watching that you can find out more about copiosis by going to copiosis.com. You can find out about how we use money from our patrons to support the effort at patreon.com/copiosis. You can also join the social group on Facebook and find out a whole bunch of information about Copiosis on our social group on Facebook by searching on Facebook for Copiosis Social Group. Um, Jill, it's been a wonderful hour. Again, we've got about 10 minutes left. I
Yeah.
think you wanted to talk a little bit about the election before we
Yeah.
went.
I just want to share some thoughts with my fellow Americans. So I heard a fact that the other day and checked it out, and um, there are 62 people that own one half of the world's wealth. So who do you think? And I think most people feel this way, that they're the ones pulling our strings. So then here in America, you know, we're in the process of this election. And I say, okay, 1/3 of the people think they won. 1/3 of the people feel that they lost. And, there are other people who aren't even participating in that whole thing and are trying to perhaps do other things that are of more value, or maybe they're just completely discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm asking, why are we supporting a social economic system where there's winners and losers? Um, why can't we all win? And how do we win if we continue to be governed in a way that can be corrupted by wealth? So what I find so exciting about Copiosis is that it takes away the power of wealth and money to control others. And if you don't think you're controlled by money, when you go to work every day and your pay, your job, everything depends on the decision of the investors that own your company, then you are uh, delusional. I mean, I hate to, say that. I think people recognize that already, but they go, what are we going to do? Well, you can leave this company and go to work for that company over there, but they still have control of your life. And to me, Copious gives you an opportunity to do it differently.
Excellent. Excellent,
Right.
Jill. Exactly.
So basically, that's what I wanted to share. Why are we wasting our precious time, our precious energy competing and fighting against each other when we could be fighting to cooperate and
Yeah.
for a better life for everyone?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just seems logical, more logical to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think you've nailed you've hit the nail right on the head. And it's funny because that was so well said. With your permission, I'm going to turn that into like a 1 minute pitch and pay to have that on Facebook if you're okay, because it was really well said.
Oh, good.
Are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, whatever you
Okay.
want to do, whatever
Okay.
helps the cause.
Okay. Good. All right. Great.
That's what I'm doing here,
Yeah.
trying to help the
Exactly.
cause. Yes.
Exactly. So, yeah, that
Just,
was.
encourage people to think a little bit differently, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and consider some out of the box thinking. And
Yeah,
Copiosis is
yeah,
certainly out of the box. But
yeah.
here's the thing about innovations. That all the innovations that changed our world significantly have all
We're out the
initially
box.
were out of the box. And most people, when they heard it for the first time, before it really caught on, they thought it was stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Yes.
thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
But then it
Yeah.
started to catch on, and people were like changing their minds.
Exactly. Right.
So yeah, we
Well, I would suggest that people, what people may not recognize is that it wasn't so long ago that when our forefathers thought working for someone else was the most heinous way you could live your life. And how has our consciousness been changed
yeah,
from that to this?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we are experiencing a new revolution because of technology.
Yes, we
And
are.
if we don't catch up and we don't um,
Catch on.
find a way to use it for the benefit of all, it will use us for its own benefit. It's terrifying. So I'm looking forward to talking to our buddy next week
Yeah, our
because I
tech.
think I have a really interesting question for him,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Which is all fear based, right?
Well, don't
Right?
many questions come from that place, and that's quite all right.
Yes.
So let's bid our audience adieu. Thank you so much for watching, everyone who is the people who are watching live, and then the people. Not very many people are watching live because they didn't know that the show starts, but we'll get that will change
Right.
as we
Yeah.
move forward. And then for people who are watching after the fact during the recording, feel free to make any comments that you want in the comment section.
Please,
We will be
please.
sure to answer every single one. Or if you have questions, we'll answer your questions. If you have comments, we'll reply to your comments. If you have suggestions or questions that you'd like us to answer on the show, let us know that
Yeah.
too, because we'll be happy to answer those questions as well as questions you just want us to answer in the comment section. And then again,
Sure.
if you're interested in finding out more about copiosis or talking with others who are excited about copiosis, go to our social group on Facebook. You can search on Facebook for Copiosis Social Group, make a member request, and you'll be approved, and in you'll go, and then you'll join a whole new world of fantastic people who are really excited about the future, unlike
Yes.
many people in the
Yes.
world today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to
I
say?
Nope. I'm just saying sign off from Jill the Pill, I guess.
Okay, Jill. So you've been watching Devil's Advocate. We'll see you next week on Tuesday at 11 Pacific time. Bye.
See ya. Bye.